Success equals fun. Many musicians lose sight of this and want to make it big in music. If you stop having fun, you'll never see your success. Hey guys, it's Reiner. Thanks for downloading the mixing board. Let's do it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for downloading the first official episode of the mixing board. Many of you guys are probably wondering, well, this is probably the second episode because there was an episode before this one that came out. You're right. That episode was all about me, though. I talked for about an hour, and I familiarized you guys with who I was. I wanted you guys to get to know me a little bit better, know what I've done in the past, my musical journey, how I've gotten to this point in podcasting, and gave me the opportunity to talk for about an hour. Doesn't get better than that, right? Anyway, guys, first official episode. Thank you so much for downloading. Mike Mansour of Displaced Music is on the show, and I thought this was very fitting that Mike was the first guest. Why? Not just because he's one of my best friends, but because he is the co-owner of Displaced Music, along with me. We both own a music publishing company, which is Displaced Music. You can visit us at displacedmusic.com. Listen to all the music we create and all the goodness we have. Now, Displaced Music isn't necessarily a band or anything, but again, it's a publishing company, and we make music for film, video games, and TV shows. So that's a little bit about us, but we're going to get into that later on with Mike and introduce you guys to what we do exactly together in Displaced Music. So before we start, there's two things I want to get to, though. One is to let you guys know, if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast because I got some great episodes coming up and you guys don't want to miss them. But most importantly, you'll never miss an episode. So go ahead and click on subscribe to the mixing board, and you'll never have to go search for this podcast ever again. But that's not what I want to talk to you guys about. What I want to talk to you guys about is the mixing board, is this podcast. This podcast is intended to speak to artists, speak to product companies. These artists, some of them are my friends. Some of them are artists that I specifically want to speak to, and I want to get to know better. I want to go behind the artist's art, behind their creativity. I want to get as much information as I can out of them on their thought process. Some of these companies that I'm going to be talking to are companies that I specifically use. Some of them I have a very keen interest in getting to know, but no one's a sponsor, meaning I don't have anyone on here or any product companies on here that I don't personally endorse or that I like. There's no sponsors to the show. There's nothing like that. It's a free show. Everything's coming out of my pocket because I absolutely love to do this. And it brings me a little closer to you guys. So that's one. Two, I want to apologize to you guys. You guys are probably wondering, what the hell is he apologizing about? When I recorded this talk with Mike that you guys are going to be hearing, it was about 4 days before he was getting married. And for anyone out there who's been married or who's getting married, you know that a week before your wedding is probably one of the most hectic times ever. You're trying to iron out all the wrinkles, you're tying up all the loose ends, and you're making sure your big day is going to be perfect. So when Mike came over to do this interview, he put his phone on silent, put his face down. What we both failed to realize, it was that it's really close to the mic. And every time he got a text message or a call, there was a little bit of digital buzz that crept into the microphone signal. Now, it's not something you actually hear, other than after you record, that's when you start playing it back and then you hear the buzzing sound. So I apologize, guys, but it is episode 1 and I'm still learning, so bear with me. Not going to ever happen again, I promise. Seriously, I have my left hand up, or maybe it should be the right hand. But with any case, I promise it's never going to happen again. So continue to download, and I apologize about the digital buzz that you guys are going to hear later on in the show, but I promise we didn't know about it. And I tried to cut out as much as I could, but unfortunately, even with every plugin that I tried to even use to process the signal out, still didn't work. So just bear with me. It's only for a short period of time within the show, and it goes away. All right, so Mike Mansour, displacedmusic.com. Check it out. Let's go ahead and cut to the interview. Enjoy. All right, guys, it is my sincere pleasure to be welcoming this next guest. He is one of my closest friends. He is half of Displaced Music. He is none other than Mike Mansour. Mike, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Brian. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Yeah, that was a hell of an intro.
Hey, man. Then we better make this podcast really good.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. No, I'm glad to sit in front of you once again and just bullshit like we do and talk about our passion, and I can't wait.
You know what's funny? I was thinking the other day, how long have we known each other now?
Wow, it's been almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
Because it was back in 2007, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
When we met each other.
Yeah. It was 2007, 2008, sometime around there, man.
And it's always funny, like when you go and think back about how we met. That was the funniest part about all this thing. And it's what it has evolved into has been pretty crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
I think it would be only fair to tell everyone how we came and how we met.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. I mean, I was just an aspiring guitarist, like I'm sure a lot of you guys are. You know, living in LA, you're going to some of these cool scenes and you're trying to mimic some of your idols and all that good stuff. So, you know, I did what a lot of people I think did, is go onto Craigslist. And, you know, that was just kind of one path of trying to get yourself out there, maybe meet your fellow musicians, see who's in the area you can hook up with and jam with. So that was probably one of the early parts of how I started trying to meet new people at the very least. So yeah. I went on Craigslist and I found these two guys. So one of them was Nate. His name was, I think. Yeah. I don't even know his last name, but whatever. And Briner was the other guy.
Yeah.
So at first, they came to my parents' house when I was jamming in the garage. And, you know,
hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
I want to take them back from like the very beginning, because you got to remember, the first day that I met you was the very first day I met Nate.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I didn't think.
you didn't
I didn't know that. No, I thought you guys acted like you fucking known each other for years.
No. The very first time I met Nate was the first time I met you.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah, because just like you, I mean, look, Craigslist was the kind of like the one. I mean, one of these sources that a lot of musicians, you know, were going to hit up these things. So I remember I did the same thing. I was like, all right, this is like right when Sovereignty stuff had finished. And I was like, I want to get back into the whole, you know, scene of being in a band.
Yeah.
I met that guy, Nate, but I had only talked to him. So little did you know, that was the first time I had ever met him and met you.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And you remember this when I first called you?
Yeah.
And it was your last name when I was like,
That's right.
Hey man, we may know. Yeah. You look familiar. Let's just say, you know, your name sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
And that's where...
that's right. That was like the instant connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was instant connection. Because that was before you guys ended up coming to the garage. Okay, so gotcha. I remember that.
All right, I'm sorry. So go
No, you're right. That's important. No, yeah, that was like... Yeah, it's funny that they had, you know, picked that up. So I'm back in the garage now, and, you know, I'm trying to show off to these guys because I really, you know, want to make a good impression. And I think I did, where it warranted a second meeting. So then, you know, some time went by, and then the three of us ended up going to Northridge. So I remember it clearly. The song that we were all supposed to kind of audition for was War Pigs.
You
right?
remember that?
Yeah. So we started playing and everything, and man, I don't even fucking know what happened after that. I feel like everything was okay, but then, you know, the singing was threw me off a little bit, you know, and then my timing was kind of crappy. and and then Briner started getting all pissed off. And then from what I remember about that one is that was like a pretty grueling 2 hours because there's just like nothing seemed to come to harmony in that day, unfortunately. And I think everybody just got frustrated, and these two assholes were told me that it's just not going to work out. So I was like, all right, well, fuck you guys, and then I leave, and I keep doing my thing and stuff, and then long story short, Briner ends up calling me. I think it was like a few months later, right? Or was it?
No, it was, just to kind of rewind on that, what you said is I remember in that studio when we were all playing War Pigs, you got to remember, that was the first time I had even heard Nate sing.
Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting that fact.
Yeah,
but
because
I hear you.
I mean, like all musicians, what you hear in the albums, what you hear out, say if you're watching YouTube, you gotta remember there's been a lot of hours that have gone into making that song or that riff or that lick really come out to life and make it perfect. Because you're in the studio. I mean, you could go take after take, Right. So when I heard Nate's material, because I think the one link that we had was he was really into industrial music as well, like I was. So when I had come out with Sovereignty, he had his whole thing going. I was like, oh man, yours sounds so awesome. I was like, yeah, yours does too. But you got to remember, I never heard him sing live. Right. So when he's like, learn War Pigs, okay, cool. I'm going to tell Mike to learn War Pigs too. Okay, cool. So I'm thinking it's just going to come together. And then when you heard him sing, and when I heard that, and I was like, oh, man, like what's going on here? Because the guitars were there, but like, the timing and stuff. And it's like,
yeah.
But the vocal, something had to come out, like,
right.
Yeah,
it was like total just
that's
disaster.
Yeah, so if I was an asshole, I apologize.
No, it's all good.
If you remember, man, that after that whole jam session when we went outside, I remember coming, giving you a hug, and I was like, hey man, we're gonna keep in touch.
Yeah. Was it that same day?
That was that same day.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was that same day that I remember. I'll never forget, man. You were putting your guitars in the trunk and everything. You just had. I was like, no. I just, because I've jammed with a lot of people, and you can just tell like when there's a really good guitar player, but there's no chemistry between the two musicians. Right, and then you jam with someone who is like really talented. There's it's in this person, it's in this musician, man. It's just something's there. You just got to somehow bring it out. But there's passion.
Right.
And then there's that chemistry. And it's like that all came together with us. You know what I mean? And so I remember going to that park lot. I was like, we're gonna keep in touch, bro.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
And I know you probably hated me still back then, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
That room was pretty tough for sure. I mean, trying to impress people, right? And you're trying to make it work out as best you can, as hard as you want, make something happen. You want to be, you want to be up on stage and all that good stuff. But yeah, so I remember that now.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that to me afterwards. Yeah. And, but damn, 10 years, like 10 years on later, and off. Bro. But, we've always been in touch, but definitely a lot more recently.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was probably leading up to my wedding in 13.
It was.
And it's funny because from 07, 08 to 13.
Right.
How many times did we jam, dude? We've jammed.
That's true. We've definitely met up a couple times to jam and exchange ideas. Yeah, I know.
Dude, we jammed, we recorded. And then it got to the point where it's like, because, the music industry's weird, man.
Yeah.
When I first moved to LA, Tool's album was just out, Vicarious was out. So it's like, the music was still alive. It was still, right. People want to go out and buy albums. And I felt like in 06, it just started kind of dipping down. So when you and I hooked up, you're still in that awkward period where it's right in between,
Yeah, I remember us talking about this now. We were kind of in that kind of changing phase with the music that we were listening to or used to listening to, late 90s, early 2000s, with some of the, the rock that we like the Rage and Tool and, Jane's Addiction type of stuff. And I know this is a little bit earlier, could be earlier in the 90s, but, we were used to some of that stuff, and we started noticing the switch of more of like into the popish, I guess you can say,
Yeah,
right?
the Katy Perry's of the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. So, which is all good, but we had to tweak our style, I guess you can say. So, yeah, I know. I definitely remember those conversations and trying to figure out a way that we can have our own identity. And then I think we found it recently.
Yeah, which we'll be getting into who and what displaced music or DM. Because I know
Right.
a lot of times we'll refer to displaced music as DM.
Right, exactly. That symbol is just too badass.
Exactly, right? It's funny, man, because I don't know if you remember one of the conversations that we had years ago, which was you, me, let's find a bass player, let's find a vocalist. I mean,
Yeah.
you're still in that,
Right.
the mentality of let's get a band together. I'm so lucky we didn't do that though. I'm so happy we didn't do that because it's a hard gig, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. Trying to get everybody on the same page and same level, I feel like is the hardest part. There's so many talented people out there. There really is. I don't even think that's as much of a challenge as getting the right people together. I think
Exactly. I've been in situations, man, when I first moved out to LA, where you think everything's good. I mean, you think, man, you just feel it. I mean, we were releasing like a studio, me and 3 other guys, and I had my drum set up. The bass player, really, really good bass player, Eric Brashear, excellent bass player, and he had his whole Pro Tools set up, and he had mics. It was like, I mean, it was coming together, and I was surprised at myself saying, man, I can't believe I just moved out. Things are coming together. But then when you get all 4 people in the same room, you got an idea. The other 2 have an idea and they're on the same page. And then this guy has an idea that's kind of not on the same page with anyone else. And it's like, well, who's going to fold first? Because I think my idea is good. And then you're like, okay, fine. Well, let's go with your idea. And then you start playing the music and it's like, I'm not feeling this. This is just not what I signed up for.
Right.
I like what you're doing. It's just not me. And I was into I still am. I like that industrial 9 Inch Nails.
Love it.
Rock. And I mean, we're both Jane's Addiction family. We went to the concert.
Yeah, I remember that. That was at Pachanga, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I totally remember that. Good times, man.
Yeah, dude. But it's I can tell you that right now it's the happiest I've ever been in music, doing what we're doing. So doing what we're doing, leading into the displaced music, I think when you and I, how many years ago? I think it was right before the wedding or something, maybe a little before. They were like,
yeah. I think you're right. It was in 2013, I believe, where we started like entertaining the idea of doing what we're doing now. And I can't, it's pretty cool.
You guys are probably wondering, man, you guys keep talking about displaced music and DM and doing what we're doing. What is displaced music? How about we do this? The introduction to the podcast, the name of that song is entitled Fuel. It's created by Displaced Music. Displaced Music is Mike Mansour and I, Brian Agassi. So we're going to play that song right now. Apple can't do anything for us because this is our song. We've licensed, we own it. So they can't kick us off the air. So we're going to play it for you guys. So it's called Fuel. And we're going to play the entire song for you guys. And then we're going to come back and describe to you what displaced music is and what we do. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right. Enjoy.
it's always cool listening to that piece. I feel like I can never really get tired of it at all. Yeah, it's jam packed action and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A song like Fuel. I'm no guitar player.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm no guitar player. And you've heard how I play
man.
guitars.
Come on, that's you in that. Don't lie to these people.
Listen, man. The most I can do with a guitar is open tune it to E and then play with one finger. Okay. Anyone can do that. I'm no guitar player, but I'm a musician and I love guitars.
Right.
For you, when we started jamming,
Uh-huh.
what's your creative process? How do you find your creativity? Because, being creative to write a song with a band is going to be completely different than what we're doing, writing songs for movies, television, video games. Take us through that creative process of yours.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'd have to say that it first starts off with just loving the instrument, just aesthetically and just
Mm,
passionately, just love the instrument, and there's a certain harmony when you pick it up and your fingers touch the strings like that, and that sound that comes out of it in itself is just inspirational, and it brings out this creativity that's hard to explain. But having said that, you know, when you hear a badass you
mm,
know, drum beat or some other type of sound, it does wonders to me personally,
sure.
as far as creating something. So, another thing that helps me or makes it easier to create something for me is when I hear something, okay, I will picture something with it.
Mm,
If you hear like this deep, bassy kind of drum sound, it makes me think of gladiator-ish type of
mhm.
image, for
Yeah,
example,
sure.
is when it would give me like, okay, what do I picture behind something like this that makes sense?
Right.
And having gone through just millions of riffs and trying to fit you know, that riff and those notes to the scene and how I interpret it, how we interpret it together, I think is another
Mhm.
invaluable experience about this whole
Sure.
thing is that put both of our heads together to this thing and just being really hard on ourselves and making sure it hits the spot. You think when you're growing up and you're playing music, you're teaching yourself how to play guitar, you go to school, whatever it is,
Yep.
everybody has influences. Everybody has like their guitar
Sure.
idols, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I still am a big fan of John Petrucci with Dream Theater, super technical.
Yeah.
Love listening to that guy. Never get tired of that guy. Always something to learn. There's Joe Satriani, there's Yngwie Malmsteen, all these you got the shredders and the super technical people.
Right,
Then you got
right.
the more emotional people like David Gilmour
Mm,
and the list just goes on and on. I can keep going,
sure.
but it just kind of you just subconsciously tap into yourself with whoever influences you the most and what you feel that's appropriate for that style. So it's one of those things that everything just kind of comes together at the right time.
And that's kind of how
Yeah.
DM came together.
Yeah,
I feel. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Right.
It's just so it's so weird how everything came together. And in talking about like your creative process, I think there's a lot to be said where, like you're getting your influence, let's say, from like if you listen to a drum beat or a bass riff or
Right.
however you come up with it. But
Exactly.
I know for me, one of the thing is it's like when I hear that guitar riff,
Right.
and I think a perfect example of that was Midnight Ride.
Oh yeah, that's a very good example. You guys should check out Midnight Ride. By the way, it's a very very cool piece.
Yeah, it really is. That for me was like, and I'll never forget when we were in the studio recording, and you're just playing that riff,
Right.
and it's like, whoa, keep going,
And
keep
it's something so
going.
simple, right? Like
Very.
you would. It's amazing what you can think of or
Yeah.
what comes out of you just naturally with a certain sound. And
It really is.
yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, you guys should check that one out.
Midnight Ride.
I believe that's on the website on
It
the
is.
music
It is.
section.
Yeah, it's the very last song I believe on the
Okay,
music section of
yeah.
the site. You guys should check it out.
Definitely.
there's something to be said about those 2-minute pieces, minute and a half, and that's all the music.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's the length of our music. I mean, it's an industry standard to have a minute, 30 seconds to 2-minute piece. And you spoke about this earlier where it's so moving.
Yes.
Just within that short period of time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, to further your point about the length of our clips,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like just pieces of music on steroids. You just try to jam pack
Yeah.
as many moving pieces as you can in this just short period of time, because like Briner said, a lot of this could be manipulated. It could be, you kind of showcasing what you can do in a particular song in a short period of time, because you can take pieces out. You can make them longer, shorter, or I don't know about shorter, but you can make them longer if you needed to, or change some things around, right? So yeah, it's really just like a bunch of flavor in one piece. Yeah.
And I'll never forget when we were doing Fuel.
Right.
Fuel was the second piece we recorded together.
It is, yeah.
First was Hope is Not Lost, right?
Right.
And I always remember the demo names that we have for them.
I know.
So I always want to keep referring to it as Silence.
Yeah. Silence was our demo name for Hope is Not Lost. Yeah. But I know, I hear you on that one. Because you get, that's another thing, by the way, is you get extremely attached to a lot of these things. Because I'm telling you guys, like it drains you in a good way. Like you're just so mentally drained because you've just put your heart and soul into this thing.
Yep.
And you've listened to it so many times, and it becomes an intimate part of you for sure. So anyway, yeah, we still get stuck on some of the demo names, but Hope is Not Lost was actually the first song that we did together over a year ago.
Yeah.
And that one was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
It was. I was going back and forth with that motherfucker so much. And this was part of our trial and error too.
Yeah.
Like we would take turns kind of trying to start the thing.
Yeah.
But what we found that helped was just being together as much as possible.
That there's something to be said about that too. I mean, that really helps illustrate that musical piece when you're together. And it's funny because, I mean, so far, knock on wood, we've always had that same type of vision. And I think for, I'm sure there's going to be pieces along the way that we're going to differ, but I think one of the key components is that communication. Because, I mean, remember, even with Silence, before it was, remember the third part 3, what we call part 3,
right?
Where I was like, dude, the heavy guitars here would sound great. And I think we were talking about like, I don't know. And then it was when we got together and it was like, just record it, listen to it.
Right.
And you record it was like, there we go.
Right.
That's just going to work,
Definitely.
I think being together, it does help the creative process too.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Being together and kind of seeing it. And I'll never forget when you did Fuel.
Yeah.
You said, what are you picturing? And I was like, bank robbery, chase scene, and you're like, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So it's great how we've connected and how the songs just literally, it's not a tough gig, man.
Yeah.
It's not that tough. But I mean, like you said, it's draining.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Some of it just, the riffs will just come out naturally. They'll come out smoothly. It just happens to be fitting. Definitely some easier than others, for sure. For sure. But I can think of one in particular that was super draining to me.
Which one?
Last One Standing. That one where you have that beautiful orchestral feel in the beginning, and then it goes into acoustic like that at the end, was pretty draining because that was it was easy to get involved mentally and just get lost. But anyway, just so one thing that I would say is just get lost in it.
Yeah,
definitely get lost in it and try to picture what you're doing. Also, if you attack it from the standpoint of I want to do a really cool riff and build on it, is what I think is probably a good way to start for sure.
And don't overdo it. Don't overproduce. And
don't overproduce. Layering could be another like enemy of yours for sure. Briner's damn good at that. He can fucking layer it like a fucking cake. But
I need someone to tell me to stop
yeah,
because I'll keep going.
see, but that's what makes this guy so special too, though, because you know he overachieves. You got to bring him down a little bit to hit the sweet spot. Seriously, which is like so much better than having to not have enough.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he does the same thing to me too. Like especially with sounds.
Yeah,
that's where he helps me out a lot too. Is when we're going through different guitar riffs, finding that right sound for that particular scene that we have in our head, you know, is definitely key.
You know what's really interesting. One thing that's always gotten me about your playing, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm telling you this as I'm telling all the listeners right now.
Yeah,
all 2 of them. It's okay, folks. We'll get to 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we'll just call our cousins so they can listen.
Just download it. I think the one interesting thing with you particularly, it's I've always been a fan of your playing. Your playing is not. You can be over the top. I mean, you can shred. You can play at superhuman speeds.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, you can. You can. I mean, you could shred. You could play it with superhuman speed, but then you have another side of you, where it's just naturally who you are.
Right.
And it's funny because you have that bluesy feel. You have a jazzy feel. You definitely have the rock feel. But then there's one component that you have that, and I think you and I, just with our backgrounds and everything, really connect with too. And I think it just comes easy, but I think it comes easy, but at the same time, it's so it's in us. It's within, our roots that we kind of want to take our time with it and perfect it more than anything else. And I think that's the ethnic piece to it.
Definitely.
That's a key component that you don't hear in many guitar players. You just don't,
Right.
You've heard that style of music.
Yeah.
That's crept in its, in the way of modern rock, but
right.
What you do is just something profound.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I agree. There's a lot of cool scales out there, like the Phrygian scale. You got the is one example, and there's other scales in there that have that ethnic piece that those half notes that or half steps and that give it that ethnic feel for sure. And then another thing I would say, other than playing those particular notes, is the beat, right? Like and that's where our background comes into play, because a lot of these ethnic songs have very unique beats too. So incorporating that onto the guitar is definitely, it could be really cool combination.
Yeah, I mean, going back to last year when we were just digging into, creating these demos and then going in and re-recording, you had this one riff.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. And I promise you guys, this thing will get wrapped up, because that's one in particular I think Brian and I are very excited to share. Yeah. It's one of those things that we're so invested in that we want to nail it down before we, push it out, and we will. So I just want to let everybody know that one.
It's a beautiful piece, and I think we are invested. I mean, it's an emotional investing type of song, definitely. Because it's funny because you can do so much with it.
I know, and that's really the other hard part, like you said. It's knowing when to stop too. You know what I mean? Like that's probably some things that you guys face too. A lot of the writers out there is, I don't know. I've heard some people have a very hard time beginning.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's some people that have a hard time knowing how to wrap it up. Especially if you only have 2.5 minutes to showcase your stuff to these music supervisors who have no fucking time to listen to a million, or they have to listen to a million of it. They just don't want to listen to fucking a million 6-minute tracks. They just can't do that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, that's another thing. You want to make an impression and fast.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, that's the key, I think, for sure. And just, obviously getting that relationship, that's how you get it, is you just make that impression fast.
And with that type of song, you can make a lot of impressions. But like you said, where do you draw the line and say, it's good, we're done?
Right.
Because then you start thinking, oh, I can put a nay in here. I could put a wind instrument,
Right.
And it's like, oh, but song's already done. I mean, when do you call it quits? And it's funny because with a lot of these songs, we've done that. We've gone, it's okay, it's done. But hey, Mike, check this out. Or hey, Brian, check this out. It's like, oh, hey, we should add that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now this is bringing back one of our conversations, like during the process of this past year or so, is we will, think of another part to a song, and then I'll sit down and I'll ask myself, or Brian will ask me, is, all right, do you still have that scene in your head?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was really the big difference for us.
Right.
Is, do you still have that scene? So if you're thinking of like a, like you're at the beach, you're playing something like you're at the beach, and all of a sudden you go to part 3 of that song, and you're like, okay, do you still have that kind of feeling?
Right.
If it puts you like, if it makes you feel like you're in the fucking desert, you're probably, like, what's going on exactly? So I would say that's just, I that was our check. Was, does it fit what we were doing when we started the song? Yeah, I think it is what it came down to. Like, if you listen, for Fuel, like you guys heard, there's definitely different variations in that song, right? If you break it down, but it all, kind of comes together. It's and of the same family, if you will, kind of feel.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say that's probably another thing to think about when you're putting these things together.
So you got a pretty big week ahead of you, huh?
Yeah. Fuck, I knew you'd bring that up.
It's only fitting, man.
Yeah, I know.
Earlier we were saying how Mike and I are kind of, I don't want to say hiatus, but I think we're just going on a vacation. Well, I'm going on vacation.
You're going on vacation.
You're doing something else, man.
Yeah, I'm getting married this weekend, guys. So, and then after that, I'm honeymoon, of course.
Wow.
So Brian and I, him and I are not getting married.
No.
We're actually leaving the country at the same time.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no, exactly, guys.
There's nothing wrong.
Thank you for clarifying that. But him and I are not getting married. Him and I, with my new wife and his wife, are going to be leaving the country around the same time. So
yeah. But it's going to be exciting to come back. And it's funny, we're both going to be in Europe at the same time.
Right.
So you never know.
That's pretty cool.
Since we're both in Rome, we may actually run into one another.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. For sure.
But it's interesting because I think because we draw inspiration from everything.
Right.
And I think after coming back, especially from a place like Europe,
yeah,
you're going to be, married. It does paint a different picture in your mind and the way you start feeling and thinking about things. So it's going to be interesting to take that kind of motivation and inspiration
definitely
to bring back to the table and say, here's what I got.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. It just makes me think of different ways to find motivation or inspiration to write new tracks. Do you remember when we were trying to work on the Eerie Path? What we decided to do that night?
Dude.
And I keep elaborating on the stuff that we've done, guys, because it's been over a year in the writing process already, but and the different experiences we had to go through, it's very interesting to just think back about it, to find where you can start that particular piece. And that night when we came, actually, was that song number 3? I think it was, right? I forgot. I think it was like 3 or 4. I forgot.
I think it was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Something around there. Yeah.
Yeah. But Brian and I knew that we wanted to do something a little bit like on the darkish side, kind of, weird and just
haunting,
creepy and haunting kind of feel, for sure. So what did we do?
We went to the Cooper House in Chino Hills.
And what time did we go?
We were like 2:00 in the morning, man.
And I was sitting in the fucking back seat with my acoustic guitar as he was driving up to the house, and I was just like, "Oh man, what if we see some shit over here while I'm
Just
trying to
imagine
jam?"
what people were
dude.
thinking when they're driving by. It's like, what the fuck
I
are
know.
these guys doing, man?
I know, man. But it was that day where we came up with that
Yeah.
piece,
Yep.
and I love that piece, man. I love.
Oh,
listening to
Eerie
that thing.
Path is
It
beautiful.
is so
man.
cool. So
Eerie
cool.
Path is beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great song to say, here's an illustration
Right.
of 4 different parts within a 2-minute song
Right.
that you can virtually use in various scenes.
Absolutely.
Which, when you bring all those scenes together, it's a 2-minute song. But when you listen to it, it's like, wow, I just went on a roller coaster that started out with acoustic guitars. Then all of
Right.
a sudden you have these sounds creeping in, panning left and right. And then you have a big boom.
Right.
And then you have this other part to the guitar. Now you hear multiple guitars. Then you hear the drums come in. Then you hear the bass. And then you start hearing a creepy piano. And then there's more sounds. All
Right.
this accumulates to about 2-minute song. And you're like, what just happened here?
Right. Exactly.
And when I even listen to it to this day, it's like, okay, only 2 minutes have gone by, but I just feel like it should have been a little longer because I've just gone on this journey through my mind that it took me through various different scenes.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
scene for me is, driving and you're in the back with your guitar, but
Yeah.
that's an experience going to this haunted house.
Exactly.
So
And, there it goes again, just for that particular scene that you feel
Mhm.
that it matches to, and chances are it's going to match to a lot of stuff, whatever you guys are working on. But for this one here, this was a big video game one for us too.
Oh yeah.
This one right here, especially you can take pieces of it. At the beginning of part 3, for example, when some of the drumming comes into play, and you're on that start screen, you're kind of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's a lot of placements for sure.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. One of the songs that comes to mind is Irreversible Days.
Yeah.
And it's funny because if you remember that one of the parts to Irreversible Days was actually belonging to Eerie Path. And then in the demo process, we said, let's split them and make 2 songs out of them. And that's another thing too that I think we faced, where it's like, you demo all this stuff and it's like, hey man, this demo piece that you brought sounds great, but this part sounds like a song by itself, and this part sounds like a song by itself.
Totally.
Well, now we got 2 songs. I mean,
Right.
that's something else that I think a lot of people have faced or will be facing, depending on where they're at in their career. But
Absolutely. And this is where finding that person that you have that chemistry and harmony with comes into play big time, because I didn't notice a lot of that shit. Really. Like you get so stuck into trying to find that that riff or melody that that you can tie yourself to, then you realize, and you have a second person come in and say, this is badass, but it sounds like 2 different songs.
right.
You know what I mean? So, which is cool, because then you just create 2 songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I know that did happen with that one, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you first start thinking about doing music for TV, video games, and films? Because I remember when we first met,
Yeah.
I mean, we were both in the mode of band, create, band.
Right.
Let's do something.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know that when we first met, our goal was to be live, right? It was that presence of being live, and the fans and the audience and all that stuff. But I would probably say it was like in 2012, 2013 is when I really started to think about, you start to remember particular films, particular scenes, even video games,
Right.
that the music in these things are so fucking touching, and it creates a hell of an experience. And I thought, man, it would be so badass to do this and have that impact on that person,
Yeah.
where they, like, yeah, I remember where I was when I played this game. For me, it was like, you're probably gonna laugh, dude, but I'm a huge Zelda fan.
Oh yeah, the Adventures
You
of
know,
Zelda. Yeah,
you know what I
absolutely.
mean? So like the Ocarina of Time, everybody I'm sure
Sure.
knows that one. There are just like Gerudo Valley, that's one piece right there with the guitar that just like you can't forget that,
Yeah.
So that's just one example, right? But I'd say it was about 2012, 2013. And I started to realize, you know what, like it would be really cool to come up with these really short pieces that can be stretched if possible or if necessary, that just, kind of get branded in people's brains.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think and I think it was like probably the most appropriate time to really like focus on that. I know some time has went by, but this past year and a half has been so jam packed for Brian and I.
Oh
We've
man.
come a long fucking way, and it seems like the cards are all just falling into place. Um, yeah, it's just always something new.
And it's crazy because the way you listen to music now,
Definitely,
especially when you're just sitting there watching a TV show
right?
or playing a video game, you start hearing things and then it just starts making sense. Before I was into the, music for film and video games and TV, for me, it was mostly, like you said, live music, jam out, give people what they want, make them dance, make them sweat, make them jump. Now that you've shifted gears, you start listening to these things on TV and film in a whole different light. How has that changed your perception of that music?
You pay more attention to it now,
Yeah,
right?
that's
you
for
pay,
sure.
You pay more attention to it now. You'll become more aware of the usage. I was watching like Counts Custom on or Counting Cars. Sorry, that's the name of his shop. Counting Cars on History Channel. If a lot of you guys watch that show, pay attention to how many times they switch the music in that
Yeah.
show. It's literally every 10 seconds there's a new riff, there's a new jam. And I would say that's one aspect that has changed for me, is become more aware of what these shows are playing and how often they are, and the quality and the type of what's appropriate for that particular scene. It's a lot of common sense. There really is.
Yeah.
Counting Cars, you're not gonna have like Oprah Winfrey on it. You know what I mean?
I would hope not, man.
So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have some badass, just like simple rock and roll riffs, or you're gonna have some bluesy riffs when a particular car comes up.
Right.
For the most part, it's gonna be a distorted, just badass rock and roll riff, and that's the majority of stuff you get on that show. But yeah, I've really just paid attention to watch some of your favorite shows and listen to those songs. I mean, definitely.
And it's funny how you listen to those shows or
Yeah.
watch movies, and then you start thinking about your own music and saying,
Right.
hey, this would sound, Eerie Path would sound great in Silent Hill, and it's
Definitely.
just, you start matching the two up,
Yeah, and I would say it's a very good exercise.
Yeah.
To kind of put yourself in the shoes of a music supervisor. What would I do with this piece? Or you can ask somebody else close to you, what would you do with this piece? Can you see it?
Yeah.
These are all.
I think when people see the same thing you're seeing,
Yeah.
that's when you start saying, okay, that's a lock for this song, because I know that we've had some songs that we've heard, we've connected. Other people may have listened to and said, I don't see it there.
Right.
But then you have those songs like Fuel or Eerie Path. You listen to them and you're like, wow, this is, it match, everyone's on the same page. And
Right.
that's when you're like, okay, I can really sell this as a chase scene, or I can sell this to a music supervisor
Right.
who's in need of a particular type of, musical piece that this just fits right alongside with it. So yeah, it's all interesting, man.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. And I can't
Absolutely.
believe a year and a half later, we were sitting here talking about this.
Right.
We've
Just
known
an
each
idea.
other close to 10 years.
I know.
Why the fuck did it take us this long to do this, man?
That's a damn good question, dude. And I know we always talk about this, like,
Man.
10 years of doing this would have been one hell of a journey, which has been so far.
Yeah.
And I think it's just right place, right time, man.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
yeah.
fun.
It's fun.
I think the one thing to really say is it's just fun. And I put out a tweet maybe last month sometime. I said, I don't remember it exactly, but it was like success equals fun. If you continue to say, if you can't find the fun in what you're doing, you'll never see the success. You'll never see your success. People were just liking it left and right.
Yeah.
And one day, it just got to so many likes. I was looking, I'm like, wow. But it really makes sense. You
Right.
have to have fun in what you do. For the longest time, I wasn't having fun.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I really wasn't having fun.
Right.
Because, you're a musician. You want to quote unquote make it. You want to be on stage. You want to rock and roll. You want to give people your music and you want to vibe with them on stage. I get all that. I get all that. But I think in the interim of getting on Craigslist, like we've both have done,
Right.
Going to auditions and stuff. And I could tell you some stories, dude. You come walking out of an audition, you think it went bad. They come back and say it went great. Or you go and you nail it. You walk out, people are high-fiving each other, hugging each other. Great, we'll call you. And then you find out the guy that literally went audition after you, he's the one who got it. And it's never based off of like, well, not always, but a lot of times it's not even based off of, the musicianship or knowledge. It's really based off of, can you get along with this guy? And it's that chemistry we talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's understandable, but you got to find the fun in it. And sometimes as musicians, I think you lose sight of having fun because you're, again, continuously trying to make it. And I want to make it big. The reason you want to make it big is because then you can quit your day job. Once you quit your day job, now you're only focusing on music.
Right.
One of the biggest lessons that I learned was have fun with it now because it will turn into a job later. And when it turns into a job, it's not going to be fun. You're not going to have that much fun with it because the music industry is work. We both see that you're working. We're making songs to be placed in film and video games and TV and all. But then you have, we're living in Los Angeles. How many people do we have just within 5 miles from us who are doing the same thing?
Oh, totally.
And they're talented. You have
absolutely
talented people out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you got to find the fun. And there's beauty in all music. There's beauty in all music. So for anyone that sits around and says, I hate this and I don't like, find the beauty in it because that's a musical piece that you may not like. But in our world of, creating music for film and video games, I can guarantee you'll find placement for it. So find the beauty in it because you may have to start angling your attention and your musicianship towards that type of music.
Right.
So keep it fun. I say keep it fun. So I know when you and I have, it's like, are we having fun? Yeah, cool. We're not having fun. We got to take a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's well said. I totally agree. I think if you, I feel like if you force something, you're only going to frustrate yourself even more. That's happened plenty of fucking times.
Oh yeah.
And it's recognizing that, cutting it out, and going back to that riff you did enjoy to kind of get your feedback. And yeah, no, I totally agree. It's having fun is so important, and I think it yields the best results for sure.
We've been in situations where we were damn near gonna slam our heads into the wall, thinking to ourselves like, we're not coming up with anything. We're not, and I guess one of the beauties of it was back then, we didn't really have a deadline. We didn't have a timeline. We weren't catering to anyone's needs or wants other than our own. We had some timeline, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest challenges of that was continuously looking back at the timeline and saying, okay, we got to continuously push this back, but
Right.
that's just what it comes with the territory, man.
Absolutely.
But the whole process has been fun, man.
It has been fun, yeah, because we didn't force it. We didn't give our. I mean, yeah, you have you kind of give yourself a timeline, like, okay, in a year's time, I want to be done with X amount of songs, but I think we've learned pretty quick doing that puts you in a situation where you may not be so happy with the quality and the technicality and the structure of the song. So,
well, just thinking back to like Silence or Hope Is Not Lost.
Yeah, that fucking demo name.
If you go back to that song, that was the first initial song. And do you remember we looked at each other after it was done saying like, oh my God,
Right.
Is this how all of them are going to be? Because it took us, I mean, you guys are probably going to think this is going to sound crazy, but it took us probably about a month and a half to finish.
So, Hope Is Not Lost.
Yeah.
I almost did it too. Yeah, no, that one took a minute.
And I don't know if it was our first song together and we were just kind of still getting adjusted to things, or I don't want to think that. I just think it's a powerful song.
Yeah.
It's one of those songs that, yeah, I remember taking about a month and a half and we were so, meticulous about, is this right? Is that right? I mean,
yeah.
But hey, the reviews have been great about it. So I guess we did something right.
I know. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, I got a question for you, Brian.
Yep.
For these good people listening here. How do you get comfortable and feel good about the quality of what we're putting together?
Ooh. Man, I think that's a tough question.
I know, because remember, guys, like the music can be beautiful, but at the end of the day, quality of that piece has to be clean.
Something that was said to me a long time ago was, you got to have the goods. This is when I first moved to LA. Someone told me, he was like a writer in Hollywood, Eddie Kritzer, said, you have to have the goods. If you don't have the goods, don't waste your time telling people, hey, look at me, I got songs for you. I could do this and that. No, you have to have the goods. And I think the standard of music, just quality, I'm not saying good melody, bad melody. No. I'm just saying quality. The standard is at an all-time high. You have people who have, putting out, $1 million records from their house, who have they have a second bedroom and they've converted into a studio. You have so many of that going on because it's so easy now. You have the ability of using Pro Tools, Logic, any of these DAWs, and the quality is so much superior than the demos that, let's say, we would have to do 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago even. You'd have to go and maybe record yourself on a multi-track and send the demo. I mean, demos now are literally albums that are being put out tomorrow. I mean, there's the standard of a demo is at an all-time high. So going back to your question about the quality, man, I think quality is everything. Because if you can't give these music supervisors, if you can't just give the people, even the people listening, we're telling them, go to displacedmusic.com, if we don't have the right quality, they're just going to turn back and say, hey, okay, cool guys, but when's the music going to come? Because what you put out forward is really a stamp of who you are, what you do. Right. And that quality has to be high. So to anyone listening, my suggestion, learn it. Learn what EQ does. Learn what compression does. Learn about limiting. Learn about mixing. Learn about mixing guitars, bass, drums. You got to learn it because if you don't, it can compromise the quality that you put out. And if it does compromise the quality you put out, then you haven't done your homework, because there's someone out there who's not a guitar player, who's not a drummer, who's not a bass player, but definitely has the ear and can bring all these people together, put it together, and make it sound like $1 million. So you have to think about quality, you know?
Definitely.
Man,
Yeah.
we can go on about this for like
We can.
hours. I'm not kidding you.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But if we do continue for hours, okay, here's what's going to happen. I can guarantee this is going to happen. I'm not going to be able to attend your wedding because your fiance is going to kill me.
Yeah.
You may not attend your own wedding because your fiance is going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
So
And then
I think
run away.
in the interest of being in a very celebratory mood today, man, and I can't wait to this weekend because I really want to celebrate you guys getting married because you guys are just such a beautiful couple.
Thanks, bro.
I say we wrap it up.
Okay.
And you're going to come back.
Oh, yeah. No,
You're going to come back and we're going to continue right out from where we left off, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for stopping by, dude.
Oh, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me stop by. It was fun to talk about all this stuff. And like you said, we can talk about this for hours, days. It's just part of who we are. And it's amazing to share. So
Thanks,
I'll
Mike.
be seeing you soon.
You got it, brother. Thank you so much once again, Mike, for being a part of the show. It would not have been an episode 1 without you, my friend. It was just fitting for you to be on and be the very first guest. I know a week before the wedding is one of the hardest times to kind of, get away from things, but you made it happen. So thanks again, brother. With that being said, next week, we're going to have the one and only, one of my biggest influences in my drumming career, Mr. Peter Erskine, a part of the show. So you guys definitely don't want to miss that. Email me, briner@brineragassiz.com, or visit me at brineragassiz.com. Don't be shy. Drop me an email. Visit me on my Twitter. Go to my Instagram page. Whatever you guys want. I'm friendly. I love making new friends. I want to get to know you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the very first episode. I know I did. And if you guys haven't downloaded the podcast before this one, go ahead and download it. Get to know me. Check out what I have to say. All right, guys, peace, love, be positive, love one another, listen to all sorts of music. Visit displacedmusic.com, visit brineragassiz.com. I'll see you guys next week.